Hello and welcome to TelecomTV's exclusive content and coverage from here at the SDN and OpenFlow World Congress in Dusseldorf in Germany. I'm talking with Martin Guilfoyle, an old friend who is the Chief Network Architect and Strategist of Cirrus Core Networks. Quite a mouthful that, Martin.
I'm sorry about that.
That's
yes.
all right. Good to see you.
You too.
And thanks for talking to us. Let me start with a really basic question. We hear a lot about network NFV. What actually is it?
So network NFV, it's the next evolution of networks. There's a lot of confusion in the marketplace, I think, as to what virtualization actually is. We come across it all the time. Case in point, we had a potential customer yesterday talking about what servers are they going to use and how redundant are they going to be in 3 years' time. We're actually saying, look, it's not about virtualizing the functions onto servers. This is about a completely different concept. Almost like we're going from electromechanical switching from years ago to System X or digital switching. It's that type of quantum shift. So what we're doing is we're taking the network functions out and making them into a framework that really abstracts the software functions that are normally carried out by the appliances now. And we're writing them into software so that we can distribute it across many different computing platforms. It's a bit of a mouthful, but that is really it in simple terms.
Now, I've heard you talking to me before about the notion of brainware. What's that?
So brainware is a big thing that I think mobile network operators and generally operators have got to think about. Is we're now introducing this concept of maintenance and network orchestration. We used to call it OSS and BSS and network operation centers. And these are fundamentally changing. So the concept now of self-healing networks, or as a problem comes up on the network, we have these machines that go out and actually fix and rectify faults. The type of thing that in the network operations center, somebody would be trained to go in, they get a light, they go in, they diagnose the problem, and then they fix it.
Yep.
So what is that future like now? So we've got all this brainware. These are the individuals that are really good at fixing problems and really good at running networks now. And we now have networks that are actually fixing themselves. So what do we do with them? And of course they're going to be worried, they're going to be saying, well, what happens to my job? But these are really good resources for actually retraining and redeploying throughout the network into different types of functions. So great individuals, but what are we going to do with them? And they're probably asking the same question, is what am I going to do? So something to think about is the impact of what Mano has on you.
Absolutely. You mentioned mobile just then, Martin. Let's talk about the way that things are going in terms of roaming and overlays. After all, SDN and NFV is not all about mobile, it's about everything.
Absolutely.
So how important and what's happening in terms of this overlay system and that we're getting, and the roaming, how does it apply to roaming?
So roaming is an interesting question. My opinion is I think that you could have a roaming overlay network. In fact, I prefer not to call it roaming anymore. I prefer to call it an interconnect network, because really anybody can now connect into it. It doesn't really matter if roaming was originally designed so that you could roam into a network from another operator, make some calls, and then disappear again. But now we've reached a new type of level where we've got MVNOs, we've got MVNEs, we've got Internet of Things coming along the lines. So I call it an interconnect network. And it's a simple concept, and it's beautiful for LTE, because now we can do pooling of resources within LTE. So we can create one layer for our consumer play, business play, and then we can create another layer on top of that, maybe for roaming, and then we can create another one for maybe Internet of Things. And there's been some recent news about really the globalization of this. If you look at M2M and IoT, to date, a lot of these have been running on existing roaming agreements. Roaming agreements, I don't think, is the correct place for a contract to do interconnect when you're talking about putting thousands, if not millions, of devices onto someone else's network. And it's an open problem that's been discussed many times. So my thought is, well, why not have an overlay network which is interconnect and then have regional breakout? To date, we use a very inefficient means of getting data around the world in mobile networks. Pretty much all the data goes back to the home network.
Yeah.
Still possible.
Yeah.
But is it that efficient? Sending it back to the home network to come back out again, when in essence what you could do is have an overlay, connect into your local network, and then have a regional sort of network data center where you resolve the traffic. And in my mind, it's an extension of what's gone on with network sharing on the radio side. So if we take the case of Denmark, for example, there's only one radio network there, shared amongst 3 operators. UK started going down that road with sharing networks. So why not share the radio network with the rest of the world? It's a way of solving the Internet of Things issue.
Good answer, I like that. Now, something else that's changing is this. Well, let me put it like this. There's a very big, well-known North American operator which is using NFV and SDN basically to help itself more than its clients necessarily, in terms of making it a truly global organisation. They've always wanted, we've seen American operators saying we're going to move into Europe, we're going to move into this, that and the other, and they haven't been able to do it effectively before, but presumably NFV will give them the ability, and SDN will give them the ability to do that.
I think so, and what I think it also does is it gives a very rapid means to get to market. It gives you it can give you a local presence. It should be reciprocal. I think if you want to come to a certain marketplace, it should be reciprocal, and you go to another marketplace at the same time. The Internet of Things is certainly growing. We hear about it every single day. You know, every single car that's being shipped these days has a wireless module in it. What are we going to do with them all? You know, they're being shipped all over the world. We need a solution to this to drive the technology forward. I still think NFV could be the perfect platform, create an overlay pretty much for car telemetry, and resolve the traffic in that fashion regionally or locally, rather than going back to the home network again. Let's look at something that might sound a bit apocalyptic, but you know, when worlds collide and all that, you know, you can imagine this in CinemaScope. But that's what's happening with NFV and SDN, isn't it? We are seeing worlds colliding. The world of the established, almost old-fashioned, certainly more gentlemanly world of the telco, and the world of the data center and IT, which is much more freebooting and in your face. Yep. What's happening as a result of that collision? So I think you're right. We're taking the telco and the data center worlds, and we're taking best in breed from both worlds. So when I talk about NFV and I go and talk to our potential customers, I'll go and talk to anybody about this. And NFV is not just a technology. It's a procurement tool. So in the terms of the finance department, I say this is new financial value to you. We're used to looking at buying appliances. So you look at licensing, and you buy a hardware license, you buy a capacity license, you buy a software license, you buy a feature license. And all these licenses start adding up. And if you think about sort of wearables, and I'll use Fitbit just as an example, these will have low power wireless in them, the Class 0, Class 1 devices of the future, the low power ones. You can't service them on maybe €1, €2 per month in all these licensing costs. But if you can get to a point where you've got NFV now providing a fabric, a really good, efficient, economical fabric, it starts making sense. And all of these start making sense. The other side, of course, is the operational side. So my other term for NFV is nervous fear of virtualization. Because it is. We've now got operators out there, mobile network operators, and they've got no idea what went on in the data world. And the data world's thinking, well, the telco world, you know, we can achieve 5 nines from doing it this way. And the telco world's looking and saying, well, actually, we can achieve high availability 5 nines from doing it in a different way. So I really, really do see the two colliding, and the appliances and ASIC, I think, are history. Good place to end. Absolutely. Martin Guilfoyle, as usual. Great to see you. Thanks very much. Thank you, Martin.